Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Amazing Sharks. Yes, I know I missed last week. I promised you guys Hammerheads Part 2. However, my mother has just been diagnosed with ovarian cancer, so I've been kind of dealing with that. So I just want to issue my biggest, sincerest apology. And guess what? This week you get your part 2 of Hammerhead Sharks. Again, if you're interested in any shark information, something you want to learn about, something you saw on the news or on the media, please leave a comment below and I will be more than happy to make you a video that pertains to that subject. Is there a specific species you want to learn about? Leave a comment. I will make you a video for it. Whatever you guys want, I am happy to provide as long as it's shark related, and I will do the research for you and save you a whole lot of time. All right, with that said, and no further ado, welcome back to Amazing Sharks with part 2 of Hammerheads. On the beach, I'd hear them at parties. All right, you guys. So, if you remember correctly, we left off about the conservation efforts of the scalloped hammerheads. So, the last bit of information I have on the scalloped hammerheads for you is marine reserves have been implemented in many areas to allow the sharks to recover. It is very important to place these reserves over areas that the sharks use as breeding grounds and nurseries, so they have somewhere to raise their pups. It is also beneficial to place a marine reserves in areas where they are prized as a non-consumptive resource through shark diving tourism. In parts of the Atlantic Ocean, their populations had declined by over 95% in the past 30 years. Among the reasons for this drop are overfishing and the rise in demand for shark fins. Researchers attribute this growth in demand to the increase in shark fins as an expensive delicacy, and in 2008 called for a ban on shark finning, a practice in which the shark's fins are cut off and the rest of the animal is thrown back in the water to die. Hammerheads are among the most commonly caught sharks for finning. This species' tendency to aggregate in large groups, making capture in large numbers on long lines, bottom nets, and trawls even easier. And if you want to learn more about shark finning, I do have a shark finning video I did make, but I will put this disclaimer on it. It actually does show videos of sharks being thinned, which means they are sliced off and the live shark is thrown back into the water while they are alive. So please keep that in mind. If you need be, just listen to the video and don't actually watch it if you're sensitive to these things. I'm just putting that in ahead of time. Hammerhead sharks are overfished all around the world for their fins and liver oil. As of 2020, an estimated 1.3 to 2.7 million fins are collected each year from smooth and scalloped hammerhead sharks from the shark fin trade. DNA barcoding can assist in the identification of scalloped hammerhead remains to aid conservation efforts. According to a January 2021 study in Nature, which studied 31 species of sharks and rays, the number of these species found in open oceans had dropped by 71% in around 50 years. The scalloped hammerhead was included in the study. And that is all the information on scalloped hammerhead, you guys. All right, so we are going to move on to our next hammerhead shark, the scoophead. All right, you guys. The scoophead is a little known species of hammerhead shark, part of the family Spiridinidae. I always get with these names. It inhabits the tropical waters of the western Atlantic Ocean from Panama to southern Brazil, and in eastern Pacific Ocean from the Gulf of California to Ecuador and probably northern Peru as well. It is found in shallow inshore habitats. One of the smaller hammerheads, the scoophead, measures 150 centimeters long. Adults measure 90 centimeters long, and females 100 to 133 centimeters. It is distinguished by its moderately broad, mallet-shaped head, 22 to 33% as wide as its body is long. The forward margin of the head is arched with weak medial and lateral indentations and no perineal grooves, traits that this species shares with the scallop bonnet head. It is distinguished from the scallop bonnet head by a shorter snout, broadly arched mouth, and deeply concave anal fin. The first dorsal fin is moderately falcate, and the second dorsal fin is as tall as the anal fin. The pelvic fins are not falcate, with a straight to moderately concave rear margin. Its coloration is gray-brown above, light below, with no fin markings. Off the coast of Trinidad, the scoophead coexists with two other small hammerheads, the bonnethead and the golden hammerhead. These species avoid competition by diet and habitat differences. The scoophead feeds on small elasmobranchs, octopus, squid, and flounders. Like other hammerheads, the scoophead is viviparous, with pups measuring 34 centimeters or less at birth. It is taken with bottom long lines, gill nets, and hook and line throughout its range. It is caught commercially and sold as fresh fish or turned into fish meal. The scoophead is also a common bycatch of the gill net mackerel fishery off Trinidad. And that, my friends, is what we know about the scoop head. All right, and now it's time for everybody's favorite hammerhead. The great hammerhead is the largest species of hammerhead shark belonging to the family Spirinidae. Spirinidae. I don't know why I have such an issue with that word. Attaining an average length of 15 feet and reaching a maximum length of 20 feet. It is found in tropical and warm temperate waters worldwide, inhabiting coastal areas in the continental shelf. The great hammerhead can be distinguished from other hammerheads by the shape of its hammer, called the cephalofoil, which is wide with an almost straight front margin, and by its tail, sickle-shaped first dorsal fin. A solitary, strong swimming apex predator, the great hammerhead feeds on a wide variety of prey ranging from crustaceans and cephalopods to bony fish to smaller sharks. Observations of this species in the wild suggest that the cephalofoil functions to immobilize stingrays, a favored prey. This species has a viviparous mode of reproduction, bearing litters of up to 50 pups every 2 years. Although potentially dangerous, the great hammerhead rarely attacks humans and can sometimes behave inquisitively towards divers. This shark is heavily fished for its large fins, which are valuable on the Chinese market as the main ingredient of shark fin soup. As a result, great hammerhead populations are declining substantially worldwide, and it has been assessed as critically endangered by the International Union for Conservation of Nature as of 2019. The great hammerhead was first described as Zegina morcaran in 1837 by German naturalist Edward Ruppel. The species name is the common name in Arabic and means horn. The name was later changed to the current Spirae and for many years, though the valid scientific name for the great hammerhead was thought to be Spirinaetudes, which was coined in 1822 by Achilles Valenciennes, in 1950, Enrico Tortonis determined that the specimens illustrated by the Valenciennes were in fact small-eyed hammerheads, to which the name Etudes then applied. As the most senior synonym, Spirinae McCoran became the great hammerhead's valid name. The lectotype for this species is a 2.5 millimeter long, 8.2 feet male from the Red Sea. Older studies based on morphology have generally placed the great hammerhead as one of the more derived members of its families, reflecting the traditional view that the cephalofoil size gradually increased over the course of the hammerhead shark evolution. But this view has been refuted by phylogenetic analysis using nuclear and mitochondrial DNA, which found that the great hammerhead and the smooth hammerhead form a clade that is basal to all other Spirinae species. These results also show that the first hammerhead to evolve had large rather than small cephalofoils. The great hammerhead inhabits tropical waters around the world between the latitudes of 40 degrees north and 37 degrees south. In the Atlantic Ocean, it is found from North Carolina to Uruguay, including the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea, and from Morocco to Senegal and the Mediterranean Sea. It is also found all along the rim of the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, from the Ryukyu Islands to Australia, New Caledonia, and French Polynesia, and from southern Baja California to Peru. It may occur off Gambia, Guinea, Mauritania, Syrian Leone, and Western Sahara, but this has not been confirmed. Great hammerheads may be found in shore waters less than 3.3 feet deep to a depth of 260 feet offshore. They favor coral reefs but also inhabit continental shelves, island terraces, lagoons, and deep water near land. They are migratory. Populations off Florida and in the South China Sea have been documented moving closer to the poles in the summer. The hammer of the great hammerhead shark is wide with a distinctive straight leading edge. The individual pictured here also demonstrates the role of swimming that the species employs as its primary form of locomotion. The streamlined body of the great hammerhead with the expanded cephalofoil is typical of the smooth hammerhead by the shape of the cephalofoil, which has a nearly straight front margin as opposed to arch, with prominent medial and lateral indentations. The width of the cephalofoil is 23 to 27% of the body length. The teeth are triangular and strongly serrated, becoming more oblique towards the corners of the mouth. 17 tooth rolls are on either side of the upper jaw, with 2 or 3 teeth at the symbiosis, the midline of the jaw, and 16 to 17 teeth on either side of the lower jaw, and 1 to 3 at the symbiosis. The first dorsal fin is distinctive, being very tall and strongly sickle-shaped, and originates over the insertions of the pectoral fins. The second dorsal fin and anal fin are both relatively large, with deep notches in the rear margins. The pelvic fins are sickle-shaped with concave rear margins, in contrast to the straight-margined pelvic fins of the scalloped hammerhead. The skin is covered with closely placed dermal denticles. Each denticle is diamond-shaped with 3 to 5 horizontal ridges leading to the marginal teeth in smaller individuals, and 5 or 6 in larger ones. The great hammerhead is dark brown to light gray to olive above, fading to white on the underside. The fins are unmarked in adults, while the tip of the second dorsal fin may be dark in juveniles. The typical minimum great hammerhead measures 11 feet long and weighs over 510 pounds, while the maximum measures 15 feet long and weighs 991 pounds. A small percentage of the population, mostly or all females, are much larger. The longest great hammerhead on record was 20 foot. The heaviest known great hammerhead is a female, 14 foot long, and weighed 1,200 pounds, caught off Boca Grande, Florida in 2006. The weight of the female was due to her being pregnant with 55 neonatal pups. Exceptionally large individuals may possibly reach 2,000 pounds in weight, though this has not been verified. All right. The great hammerhead is a solitary nomadic predator that tends to be given a wide berth by other reef sharks. If confronted, it may respond with an agonistic display, dropping its pectoral fins and swimming in a stiff or jerky fashion. Juveniles are preyed upon by larger sharks such as bull sharks, while adults have no major predators except for killer whales, which hunt hammerheads of any age. Yellowjacks have been seen rubbing themselves against the hammerhead's flanks, possibly to rid themselves of parasites. Schools of pilotfish sometimes accompany the great hammerhead. The great hammerhead is parasitized by several species of copepods, including Albion cocaridae, A. elegans, Nesipus orientalis, Crypteris, Eudatilina pollux, Croibera germusa, and Nemesis atlantica. Stingrays are a favored prey of the great hammerhead. The great hammerhead shark is an active predator with a varied diet. Known prey of the great hammerheads include invertebrates such as crabs, lobsters, squid, and octopus, bony fishes such as tarpon, sardines, sea catfishes, toadfish, porgies, grunchjacks, croakers, groupers, flatfishes, boxfishes, and porcupine fishes, and smaller sharks such as smoothhounds. At Ringaroa Atoll, great hammerheads prey opportunistically on gray reef sharks and have exhausted themselves pursuing mates. The species is known to be cannibalistic. In the Gatun Formation of Panama, fossil teeth belonging to great hammerheads suggest the sharks once preyed on juvenile Otodus megalodon alongside the extinct snaggletooth shark Hemipristis sera, with which it was once contemporary. Great hammerheads are apex predators among sharks and are specialists at feeding on other sharks' raisin skates, especially. I totally lost my place. especially stingrays. The venomous spines of stingrays are frequently found lodged inside its mouth and do not seem to bother the shark. As one specimen caught off Florida had 96 spines in and around its mouth. Great hammerheads primarily hunt at dawn or dusk, swinging their heads in broad angles over the seafloor so as to pick up on the electrical signatures of stingrays buried in the sand via numerous electroreceptory organs located on the underside of the cephalofoil. The cephalofoil also serves as a hydrofoil that allows the shark to quickly turn around and strike at a ray once detected. Off Florida, large hammerheads often at first reach to newly baited shark lines, suggesting a particularly keen sense of smell. Another function of the cephalofoil is suggested by an observation of a great hammerhead attacking a southern stingray. In the Bahamas, the shark first knocked the ray to the sea bottom with a powerful blow from above and then pinned it with its head while pivoting to take a large bite from each side of the ray's pectoral fin disc. This effectively crippled the stingray, which was then picked up in the jaws and sawed apart. Spotted Sawed apart with rapid shakes of the head. A great hammerhead has also been seen attacking a spotted eagle ray in open water by taking a massive bite out of one of its pectoral fins. The ray, thus incapacitated, the shark once again used its head to pin it to the bottom and pivoted to take the ray in its jaws head first. These observations suggest that the great hammerhead seeks to disable rays with the first bite, a strategy similar to that of the great white shark, and that its cephalofoil is an adaptation for prey handling. Great hammerheads have been observed hunting in coral reef flats as shallow as 2.3 feet. A 2016 study of specimens logged with accelerometers showed that great hammerhead sharks reduce drag and lessen energy expenditure by swimming on their side in a posture termed rolled swimming. The shark uses its very large dorsal fin to help it achieve lift, a habit that had previously been noted in captive specimens, and may spend up to 90% of its time in this swimming orientation. The technique is thought to have saved about 10% in drag and consequently movement costs. Great hammerheads embryos are connected to their mother by a placenta during gestation. As with other hammerhead sharks, great hammerheads are viviparous. Once during the developing young use up their supply of yolk, the yolk sac is transformed into a structure analogous like a mammalian placenta. Unlike other sharks which mate on or near the sea bottom, great hammerheads have been observed mating near the surface. In one account from the Bahamas, a mating pair ascended while swimming around each other, mating when they reached the surface. Females breed once every 2 years, giving birth from late spring to summer in the northern hemisphere and from December to January in Australian waters. The gestation period is 11 months. The litter size ranges from 6 to 55 pups, with 20 to 40 being typical. The young measure 19.5 to 27.5 inches at birth. Males reach maturity at 7.5 to 9.2 feet long and 112 pounds, and the females at 8.2 to 9.8 feet and 90 pounds. The young differ from the adults in having a rounded frontal margin on the head. The typical lifespan of this species is 20 to 30 years. The record Boca Grande female was estimated to be 40 to 50 years old. With its large size and cutting teeth, the great hammerhead could seriously injure a human. So caution should be exercised around them. The species has a possibly undeserved reputation for aggression and being the most dangerous of all the hammerhead sharks. Divers underwater have reported that great hammerheads tend to be shy or non-reactive towards humans. Reports have been made of great hammerheads approaching the divers closely and even charging them when they first enter the water. As of 2011, the International Shark Attack File lists 34 bites, with 17 of them unprovoked and none fatal, attributed to hammerhead sharks of the genus Phryna. Due to the difficulty in identifying the species involved, how many were caused by great hammerheads is uncertain. This shark has been confirmed to be responsible for only one provoked bite. The great hammerhead is regularly caught both commercially and recreationally in the tropics, using long lines, fixed bottom nets, hook and line, and trawls. Though the meat is rarely consumed, their fins are becoming increasingly valuable due to the Asian demand for shark fin soup. In addition, their skin used for leather, their liver oil for vitamins, and their carcasses for fish meal. The great hammerhead is also taken unintentionally as bycatch and suffers very high mortality, over 90% for fisheries. In the northwest Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico, entanglement in shark nets around Australia and South African beaches is another source of mortality. In Queensland, Australia, recreational fishers are prohibited from taking any hammerhead species. In Australia's other northern jurisdictions, the Northern Territory and Western Australia, recreational targeting and catching of great hammerheads is allowed. The great hammerhead is extremely vulnerable to overfishing due to its low overall abundance and long gestation time. Assessment of its conservation status is difficult as few fisheries separate the great hammerhead from other hammerheads in their reported catches. This species is listed as globally critically endangered on the IUCN Red List. It is endangered in the western Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico, where though it is not a targeted species, populations have dropped 50% since the 1990s due to bycatch. It is also endangered in the southwestern Indian Ocean, where large numbers of longline vessels operate illegally along the coast for hammerheads and the giant guitarfish. The great hammerhead catch rate in the Indian Ocean has declined 73% from 1978 to 2003, though whether these represent localized or widespread depletions is uncertain. The great hammerhead is critically endangered along the western coast of Africa, where stocks have collapsed with an estimated 80% decline in the past 25 years. The West African Sub-Regional Fishing Commission has recognized the great hammerhead as one of the four most threatened species in the region, though fishing continues unmonitored and unregulated. Off northern Australia, the species was assessed as data deficient but at high risk. Concern has arisen there are over a substantial increase in illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, reflecting the rising value of this shark's fins. No conservation measures specifically protecting the great hammerhead have been enacted. It is listed on Annex 1, Highly Migratory Species of the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, though no management schemes have yet been implemented under this agreement. The banning of shark fishing by countries and supranational entities such as the United States, Australia, and the European Union, and international regulatory bodies such as the International Commission for the Conservation of Atlantic Tunas should reduce fishing pressure on the great hammerhead. According to a January 2021 study in Nature, which studied 31 species of sharks and rays, the number of these species found in open ocean had dropped by 71% in about 50 years. The great hammerhead was included in the study. And that is all about the great hammerhead. Our next one is going to be the bonnethead. The bonnethead, also called a bonnet shark or a shovelhead, is a small member of the hammerhead shark species Spirna and part of the family Spiridinae. It is an abundant species in the littoral zone of the North Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico. Is the only shark species known to display sexual dysmorphia in the morphology of the head, and is the only shark species known to be omnivorous. The shark is characterized by a broad, smooth, spade-like head. It has the smallest cephalofoil of all Spirna species. The body is gray-brown above and lighter on the underside. Typically, bonnetheads are about 2.6 to 3 foot long, with a maximum size of about 4.9 feet. The generic name Spirna probably derives from a misspelling of spira, the Greek word for hammer. The specific name Tibero derives from the Spanish word tiburon, meaning shark. Bonnethead sharks are the only sharks known to exhibit sexual dysmorphism in the morphology of the head. Adult females have a broadly rounded head, whereas males possess a distinct bulge along the anterior margin of the cephalofoil. This bulge is formed by the elongation of the rostral cartilages of the males at the onset of sexual maturity and corresponds temporally with the elongation of the clasper cartilages. The pectoral fins on most fish control pitching, the up and down motion of the body, yawing, the side to side motion, and rolling. Most hammerhead sharks do not yaw or roll and achieve pitch using their cephalofoils. The smaller cephalofoil of a bonnethead shark is not as successful, so they have to rely on the combination of cephalofoils and their large pectoral fins for most of their motility. Compared to the other hammerheads, bonnethead sharks have a larger and more developed pectoral fins and are the only species of hammerhead to actively use pectoral fins for swimming. Using data from mtDNA analysis, a scientist has found that the evolution of the hammerhead sharks probably began with a taxon that had the highly pronounced cephalofoil, most likely similar to that of the winghead shark, and was later modified through selective pressures. Thus, judging by their smaller cephalofoil, bonnethead sharks are the more recent developments of a 25 million-year-old evolutionary process. This species occurs on both sides of the American coast in regions where the water is usually warmer than 70 degrees Fahrenheit. In the Atlantic, it ranges from New England, where it is rare, to the Gulf of Mexico and Brazil, and in the Pacific, it ranges from southern California to northern Peru. During the summer, it is common in the inshore waters of the Carolinas and Georgia. In spring, summer, and fall, it is found off Florida and in the Gulf of Mexico. In the winter, the bonnethead shark is found closer to the equator where the water is warmer. While it is still abundant in the North Atlantic Ocean and Gulf of Mexico, it has become significantly less common in the Caribbean Sea and has been nearly extirpated from most of its South Atlantic and Pacific ranges. It frequents shallow estuaries and bays over seagrass, mud, and sandy bottoms. The bonnethead shark is an active tropical shark that swims in small groups of 5 to 15 individuals, although schools of hundreds or even thousands have been reported. They move constantly following changes in water temperatures and to maintain respiration. The bonnethead shark sinks if it does not keep moving, since hammerhead sharks are among the most negatively buoyant of marine vertebrates. The shark feeds primarily on crustaceans, consisting mostly of blue crabs, but also shrimp, mollusks, and small fish. Its feeding behavior involves swimming across the seafloor, moving its head in arc patterns like a metal detector, looking for minute electromagnetic disturbances produced by crabs and other creatures hiding in the sediment. Upon discovery, it sharply turns around and bites into the sediment where the disturbance was detected. If a crab is caught, the bonnethead shark uses its teeth to grind its carapace and then uses suction to swallow. To accommodate the many types of animals on which it feeds, the bonnethead shark has small, sharp teeth in the front of its mouth for grabbing soft prey and flat, broad molars in the back for crushing hard-shelled prey. Bonnetheads also ingest large amounts of seagrass, which has been found to make up around 62.1% of gut content mass. The species appear to be omnivorous, the only known case of plant feeding in sharks. The shark may perform this activity to protect its stomach against the spiny carapaces of the blue crab which it feeds on. A 2018 study with a carbon isotype labeled seagrass diet found that they could digest seagrass with at least moderate efficiency, with 50.2% digestibility of seagrass organic matter, and had cellulose component degrading enzyme activity in their hindgut. The bonnethead have one of the shortest gestation periods among sharks, lasting only 4.5 to 5 months. The bonnethead shark is viviparous. Females reach sexual maturity at about 32 inches, while males reach maturity at about 24 inches. 4 to 12 pups are born in late summer and early fall, measuring 12 to 13 inches. A bonnethead female produced a pup by parthenogenesis. The birth took place at the Henry Dorley Zoo in Nebraska. DNA analysis showed a perfect match between mother and pup. The bonnethead was formally classified as least concerned species by the IUCN. It is heavily targeted by commercial and recreational fisheries and contributes up to 50% of all small shark landings in the eastern U.S., but is still reasonably abundant there as well as in the Atlantic coast of the Bahamas and Mexico. However, significant declines have been reported in the Caribbean Sea and Atlantic Central America, and massive declines along with widespread disappearance on the Atlantic coast of South America, as well as most of the shark's Pacific range, leading it to be uplifted to endangered in 2020. Since October 2021, it has been classified as largely depleted by the IUCN. The small-eye hammerhead shark, also called the golden hammerhead shark or curry shark, is a small species of hammerhead shark in the family Spiridinae. This species was historically common in the shallow coastal waters of the western Atlantic Ocean from Venezuela to Uruguay. It favors muddy habitats with poor visibility, reflected by its relatively small eyes. Adult males and juveniles are schooling and generally found apart from the solitary females. Typically reaching 3.9 to 4.3 feet in length, this shark has a unique bright golden color on its head, sides, and fins, which was only scientifically documented in the 1980s. As in all hammerheads, its head is flattened and laterally expanded into a hammer-shaped structure called the cephalofoil, which in this species is wide and long with an arched front margin bearing central and lateral indentations. The yellow-orange pigments of the small-eyed hammerhead seems to have been acquired from the Pinnad shrimp, the main food of juvenile sharks, and from sea catfish and their eggs, the main food of adults. The golden color may serve to conceal it from predators such as larger sharks. This species is viviparous, with the developing embryo sustained by a placental connection formed from the depleted yolk sac. Females bear litters of 5 to 19 pups every year, following a gestation period of 10 months. Reproductive season. Reproductive seasonality, litter size, and size at maturity vary between geographical regions. Because of its abundance, the small-eyed hammerhead is an economically important bycatch of artisanal gillnet fisheries throughout its range, and is used as food. In recent years, overfishing has caused marked declines in its numbers off Trinidad, northern Brazil, and probably elsewhere. Coupled with the small-eyed hammerhead's low reproductive rate, this led to the International Union for Conservation of Nature to list the small-eyed hammerhead as critically endangered in 2020. Okay. One of the smaller members of his family, the small-eyed hammerhead, can reach a length of 4.9 feet, though 3.9 to 4.3 feet is more typical, and a weight of 20 pounds. The body is streamlined and fairly slender. The mallet-shaped cephalofoil is wide and long, with a span measuring 28 to 32% of the body length. The leading margin forms a broad arch with indentations in the middle and on either side. The cephalofoils of newborns are longer, more arched, and less indented in the front than those of the adults. The eyes placed at the ends of the cephalofoils are proportionally smaller than in other hammerheads and equipped with nictitating membranes, protective third eyelids. The nostrils are positioned just inside the eyes. The nostrils are positioned just inside the eyes, each with a well-developed groove running towards the center of the cephalofoil. The mouth is strongly curved, containing on either side 15 to 16 upper tooth rolls and 15 to 17 lower tooth rolls. The teeth have a single narrow cusp with smooth or weakly serrated edges that are angled in the upper jaw and upright in the lower jaw. The first dorsal fin is tall and slightly falcate or sickle-shaped, originating behind the pectoral fin bases. Its pre-rear tip lies over the origin of the pelvic fin. The second dorsal fin is smaller than the first, but still rather large, with a concave trailing margin. The pelvic fins have nearly straight trailing margins. The anal fin is taller and longer than the second dorsal fin. The caudal fin has a well-developed lower lobe and a notch near the tip of the upper lobe. The dermal tentacles are oval with 5 horizontal ridges leading to the marginal teeth. The most distinctive trait of this species is its coloration. The back and dorsal fins are gray to yellowish gray, and the cephalofoil margins, flanks, underside, pectoral fins, pelvic fins, and anal fin are bright yellow to orange with a metallic or iridescent sheen. Newborn sharks are gray above, darkening on the first dorsal fin with the upper caudal fin lobe and whitish below. They gain a bright yellow cast on their undersides by a length of 18 inches, which turns orange by a length of 20 inches. The golden color is the brightest in sharks, 22 to 28 inches long, and tends to fade with the onset of sexual maturity. The small-eye hammerhead is found along the eastern coast of South America from Uruguay to Venezuela, though it seldom occurs further west than the Orinoco Delta southwest of Trinidad. The reports of this species from off Panama, Mexico, and western Florida are unconfirmed. Records from other parts of the world are most likely erroneous, resulting from its tangled taxonomic history. The species inhabits inshore murky waters, 16 to 131 feet deep over muddy bottoms. Segregation occurs by sex and age. Newborns and juveniles under 16 inches long are found in the shallowest waters, moving deeper after a few months of life. Adult females are most likely found at depths of 30 to 59 feet, while larger juveniles and adult males are mostly found in depths of 89 to 118 feet. This species is tolerant of brackish water and can be found over a salinity range of 20 to 34 ppt. Four other species of hammerhead sharks overlap its range with the small-eyed hammerhead. The small-sized scoophead and bonnethead, and the large-sized scalloped hammerhead and great hammerhead. Little competition occurs between these species because of their differing habitats and dietary preferences. The small-eyed hammerhead is the dominant hammerhead in the shallow, muddy areas where high turbidity limits the utility of vision, hence its smaller eyes. Adult males and juveniles of both sexes form schools of uniform body size. These schools do not appear to relate to reproduction or migration. Adult females are apparently solitary. Young small-eye hammerheads under 26 inches long feed predominantly on pinnaid shrimp. Larger species feed mainly on bony fishes, especially arid sea catfish and their eggs. The shrimp in the surface mucus layer and eggs of the catfish contain carotenoid pigments that appear to be the source of the shark's golden color. Whether the pigments in the catfish also ultimately come from the shrimp is uncertain. Another shark species in the region, the yellow smoothhound, also feeds on shrimp and has a yellowish color, albeit not nearly as bright. This species has also been known to consume swimming crabs, squid, grunts, and newborn scalloped hammerheads. The small-eyed hammerhead may fall prey to larger sharks such as the bull shark, while smaller individuals may also be taken by bony fishes. Its coloration may provide camouflage. A known parasite of this species is the hexaborothid monogean. It may also serve as a host to common copiapide ectoparasites. Like all hammerhead sharks, the small-eyed hammerhead is viviparous. When the developing embryos exhaust their supply of yolk, the depleted yolk sac develops into a placental connection through which the mother delivers nourishment. Mature females have a single functional ovary and two functional uteri. Ovulation occurs at the same time as gestation, allowing females to bear young every year. The details of small-eyed hammerhead's life history vary across its range. Off Trinidad, reproduction occurs on a well-defined annual cycle with mating in August and September and birthing in late May and June of the following year. The females carry between 5 and 12 pups per 10 months and make use of rich food, shallow coastal bays as nursery areas. The newborns measure around 0.98 feet long, and males and females attain sexual maturity at 31 inches and 39 inches long, respectively. By contrast, small-eyed hammerheads off the northern Brazilian state of Maranhão are substantially larger, with males maturing at over 36 inches long and females at over 40 inches long. As the litter size increases with the female size, Maranhão sharks have been recorded carrying up to 19 pups. The seasonality of breeding also differs, with pregnant females found in June to October and January to April, and males in apparent reproductive condition from May to November and in March. Timid and harmless to humans, the small-eye hammerhead is caught incidentally by inshore artisanal multi-species fisheries throughout its range and marketed as food. It is the most or second most important shark caught by such fisheries off of Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and Brazil. Because of its head shape, individuals of all ages are readily caught in gill nets. Small numbers are also caught on line gear and in bottom trawls. The IUCN assessed this species as critically endangered in 2020 as it is subjected to intense fishing pressure, often without management, by techniques ranging from beach scene netting to trawling, and is unable to replenish this harvest. Small-eyed hammerheads are also bycatch in commercial shrimp trawls, which also are often run through the shark's shallow water habitat. Anecdotal evidence suggests that the small-eyed hammerhead catches have declined significantly off Trinidad and northern Brazil, which are likely indicative of population trends in the rest of its range. The small-eyed shark is federally protected in Brazil and Colombia. The smooth hammerhead is a species of hammerhead shark and part of the family Spiridinae. This species is named smooth hammerhead because of the distinctive shape of the head, which is flattened and laterally extended into a hammer shape called the cephalofoil, without an indentation in the middle of the front margin. Unlike other hammerheads, this species prefers temperate waters and occurs worldwide at medium latitudes. In the summer, these sharks migrate towards the poles following cool water masses, sometimes forming schools numbering to hundreds to thousands. All right. The second largest hammerhead shark after the great hammerhead shark, the smooth hammerhead can measure up to 16 feet long, is an active predator that takes a wide variety of bony fishes and invertebrates, with larger individuals also feeding on sharks and rays. As in the rest of this family, this shark is viviparous and gives birth to litters of 20 to 40 pups. A relatively common shark is captured intentionally or otherwise by many commercial fisheries throughout its range. Its fins are extremely valuable for use in shark fin soup. The shark is potentially dangerous and has likely been responsible for a few attacks on humans, though it is less likely to encounter swimmers than other large hammerhead species due to its temperate habitat. The second largest hammerhead shark next to the great hammerhead, the smooth hammerhead typically measures 8.2 to 11.5 feet long with a maximum recorded length and weight of 16 feet and 800 pounds, respectively. The smooth hammerhead differs from other large hammerheads in the shape of its cephalofoil, which has curved front margin without an indentation in the center. The cephalofoil is wide but short, measuring 26 to 29% of the body at length across. The nostrils are located near the ends of the cephalofoil with long grooves running towards the center. There are 26 to 32 tooth rolls in the upper jaw and 25 to 30 teeth rows in the lower jaw. Each tooth is triangular in shape with smooth to weakly serrated edges. The body is streamlined without a dorsal ridge between the two dorsal fins. The first dorsal fin is moderately tall and palisade, sickle-like in shape with a rounded tip. The pectoral and pelvic fins are not falcate and rather have nearly straight rear margins. The anal fin is larger than the second dorsal fin with long, free rear tip and a strong notch at the rear margin. The dermal denticles are densely packed, each with 5 to 7 horizontal ridges, leading to a W-shaped rear margin. The back is dark brownish gray and olive in color, in contrast to the simple brown of most other hammerheads, becoming lighter on the flanks. The belly is white and sometimes the pectoral fins have dark edges underneath. Of the hammerhead sharks, the smooth hammerhead is the species most tolerant of temperate water and occurs worldwide to higher latitudes than any other species. In the Atlantic, it occurs from Nova Scotia to the Virgin Islands and from Brazil to southern Argentina in the west, and from the British Isles to Cote d'Ivoire, including the Mediterranean Sea, in the east. In Northern Europe, there are only 7 confirmed records from the British Isles, all but one at Banffshire from the southern part of the archipelago, and all but two in 2004 and 2019 for more than 100 years ago. The oft repeated claim of a 1937 capture from the Kattegat in Denmark is incorrect, as the photo from the incident has revealed that it was a basking shark. Although there was a confirmed observation of a hammerhead in the North Sea off Jutland in 2003, which most likely was a smooth hammerhead. In the Indian Ocean, it is found off South Africa, India, and Sri Lanka. In the Western Pacific, it occurs from the Gulf of Tonkin to southern Japan and the Russia Far East, as well as off Australia and New Zealand. In the central and eastern Pacific, it occurs off the Hawaiian Islands, California, Panama, the Galapagos Islands, Ecuador, and Chile, with a report of 1954 of two unidentified hammerheads off British Columbia, which probably were smooth hammerheads. This species is usually considered to be amphitemperature, absent from the tropics and distribution, though there are rare reports from tropical waters such as in the Gulf of Mannar off India and off the southern Mozambique. Its presence in the tropics is difficult to determine due to a confusion with other hammerhead species. Although generally preferring subtropical and temperate regions, a study of captures in the West Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico off the United States records smooth hammerheads in water temperatures ranging from 7.5 to 27.5 degrees Celsius or 45.5 to 81.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Compared to the scalloped and great hammerhead, the smooth hammerhead stays closer to the surface in water less than 20 meters or 66 feet deep. However, it has been recorded diving to a depth of 660 feet. It prefers inshore waters, such as bays and estuaries, but is sometimes found in the open ocean over the continental shelf and around oceanic islands. The shark has also been reported entering freshwater habitats such as the Indian River in Florida. In the summer, smooth hammerheads migrate poleward to stay in cooler water, heading back towards the equator in the winter. In great number. Oops, I totally skipped a line there. uh, come on, you. There you go. Adult smooth hammerheads are either solitary or form small groups. This may come together in great numbers during their annual migration. Schools of over 100 juveniles under 4.9 feet long have been observed off the eastern Cape of South Africa, and schools of thousands strong have been reported off California. During hot summer weather, they can be seen swimming just below the surface with their dorsal fins exposed. Young smooth hammerheads are preyed on by larger sharks such as the dusky shark. Adults have been observed being consumed by killer whales off New Zealand. Known parasites of the smooth hammerhead include the nematodes. The smooth hammerhead is an active swimming predator that feeds on bony fishes, rays, and sharks, including of its own species. Cephalopods and to a lesser extent, crustaceans such as shrimp, crabs, and barnacles. They readily scavenge from fishing lines. In some areas, stingrays are a favored prey and comprise the majority of its diet. The venomous barbs of the stingrays are often found lodged in and around the mouths of the sharks. One specimen examined contained 95 such finds. In northern Europe, the smooth hammerhead feeds on herring and sea bass, while in North America, it takes Spanish mackerel and menhaden. Off South Africa, smooth hammerheads feed on squids such as Loligo vulgaris and small schooling fishes such as pilchard over the deep coral reefs at the edge of the continental shelf, with individuals 6.6 feet long, taking increasing numbers of small sharks and rays off Australia. Squid are the most important prey, followed by bony fish. Though definitely rare, there are observations of smooth hammerheads attempting to predate on dolphins. Like other hammerheads, the smooth hammerhead is viviparous. Once the young exhaust their supply of yolk, the empty yolk sac is converted into a placental connection through which the mother delivers nourishment. Families bear relatively large litters of 20 to 50 pups after a gestation period of 10 to 11 months. Birthing occurs in shallow coastal nurseries such as Bulls Brae in North Carolina. The pups measure 20 to 24 inches long at birth. Females reach maturity at 8.9 feet long and males at 6.9 to 8.2 feet long, depending on locality. Off South Africa, newly mated females have been caught in February and females with full term embryos in November. Off the east coast of Australia, birthing takes place between January and March, with ovulation taking place around the same time. This shark is thought to live 20 years or more. The smooth hammerhead is a potentially dangerous to humans. As of 2008, the International Shark Attack File lists 34 attacks attributed to the smooth hammerhead's occurrence in temperate regions where people are less likely to enter the water. It was likely responsible for a majority of these attacks. Off Southern California, this species has been reported to steal catches from sports fishermen and divers. Smooth hammerheads are caught by commercial fisheries throughout the world, including those off the United States, Brazil, Spain, Taiwan, the Philippines, southwestern Australia, and western Africa, primarily using gill nets and long lines. Fishery catches of smooth hammerheads are difficult to quantify due to a frequent lack of distinction between them and the other large hammerheads. The meat is sold fresh, dried, and salted or smoked, though in most markets it is considered undesirable and there are reports of poisoning. Much more valuable are the fins, which have the highest rating for use in shark fin soup and often leads to the captured sharks being finned at sea. Additionally, the liver oil is used for vitamins, the skin for leather, and the offal for fish meal. The shark is also used in Chinese medicine. Many other fisheries from every ocean take the smooth hammerhead as bycatch as they are caught in some numbers by recreational anglers. Smooth hammerheads are also killed by entanglement in shark nets and used to protect beaches. Fewer than two smooth hammerheads were caught annually in the nets off KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa from 1978 to 1990. In contrast, the nets off New South Wales, Australia, smooth hammerheads comprised 50% of the 4,715 sharks captured from 1972 to 1990. At present, this species remains relatively common and has been assessed as vulnerable by the World Conservation Union. Off New Zealand, it has been prohibited target species and is the most abundant shark along the northwest coast. In June 2018, the New Zealand Department of Conservation classified the smooth hammerhead as not threatened with the qualifier secure overseas under the New Zealand threat classification system. It also does not appear to have been negatively impacted by fishing off southern Australia. Off the eastern United States, catches of this species are regulated by the National Marine Fisheries Service. Atlantic Shark Fishery Management Plan, under which it is classified as a large coastal shark. In 2013, the smooth hammerhead and other great elasma branches were added to Appendix 2 of CITES, meaning the international trade, including in parts and derivatives, is regulated by the CITES permitting system. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to my presentation on hammerheads. I know the second one is late, and again, I am so sorry about that. I hope you guys enjoy it. And remember, hashtag, how's it feel? So next week we are going to do a really amazing shark, you guys. Really amazing shark. It is known as the walking shark. That's right, the walking shark. I will tell you what the species is next week for next Saturday's video. Have a great night, everybody, and happy Halloween!